Whata, g'day, and welcome. I'm Janet.
And I'm Michael.
And today we're going to be talking about
Ghostbusting, and we don't mean the ectoplasmic kind.
We're talking about the current ghosting phenomenon and what happens when silence is actually deafening. Arriving home from work the other night, I saw our gardener packing up after finishing his garden art at our neighbour's property. I call it garden art as he's truly a green thumb and he works his magic on every species of plant, and he has this really creative eye for detail and he actually makes your garden glow.
He's really awesome. He really is.
I called over and I said, "Chris, how have you been? Are you able to fit us into your round soon?" And he looked over at me really puzzled, and he answered, "I messaged you about 5 weeks ago and I didn't hear back, so I kind of figured you were sorted." Sure enough, I checked my messages and there it was. It had come in late on a Sunday night and I missed it.
You know, so whether it's the gardener or the Governor General or the Pope or anybody, all people, every single one of us deserve and require a timely reply. And managing the massive amounts of communication that we receive these days, you know, you get everything. You get so much. It's communication overload in the form of texts, emails, socials and voicemails. And it can be a real challenge, not just personally, but also, and in particular, in the workplace. But it must be managed so that you don't deafen people with your silence.
Icing or ghosting people seems to have become a new sport for some. And although there appears to be no physical injury, the emotional and mental damage is ripping. Ghosting hurts because the deafening silence slices at your psyche. You're left wondering, waiting, and often confused. Most of our clients do not know why they were ghosted. We've worked with clients who have experienced ghosting after they've poured out a heartfelt dialogue into a voicemail or composed an email, sharing their feelings and emotions, or posed questions, sometimes really serious questions that need answering or further discussion.
And, you know, sometimes they've just been cut off, silenced, out of the blue for no reason, and no amount of reaching out, calling, texting, or writing has given them a response. Now, you know, some of these ghosters may have avoidance-type personality traits due to difficult parenting relationships or abandonment issues or traumas in their past. And some of these ghosters are just plain rude and narcissistic.
Ghosting isn't a really easy way out for them. There's no drama or hysteria, no need to justify their behaviour or deal with the aftermath of hurt and confusion they've left behind. It's a bit like a hit-and-run accident. They run over their victim and then they just drive off. Where's their conscience, you ask? Good question. Some of the stories people have shared with me on this topic makes me wonder if the ghosters have one. I'm sure they do. It's just hiding really well.
And for our kids today, growing up in the digital age, it's just so different to when we grew up. And they've got to learn about ghosting when both they and the ghosters do not have the emotional toolboxes to deal with or understand the repercussions they're creating. And I think, along with the expected subjects taught in school, emotional intelligence communication should be mandatory from preschool. You know, can you imagine the kids who are communicating using the ghosting style so early? Can you imagine how incredibly sharpened these hurtful skills will be by the time they reach high school? You know, even into the workplace and adult life.
Mate, it's horrific. An important lesson that both kids and us adults need to learn is that you're not going to get along with everybody, and that's okay. You're not going to agree with everyone, and that's okay. And you're not going to like everyone, and that is okay. And these feelings run both ways, so you can't judge yourself or anyone else by the likes you receive or you don't. In real life and online, the only important like is self-like or self-love. Work on that and you'll find that OPOs or other people's opinions are relegated back to where they belong. A good thing to remember is what other people think about you is none of your business. They're their thoughts, not yours. So keep on working on your own self-love and self-esteem.
If a person is, though, particularly toxic to you physically, mentally, or emotionally, sometimes ghosting or blocking someone may be the only way around it, you know? And if this is the case, it's good to just sign off with a simple message for closure. You know, keep the message succinct and polite. For example, I find we're not communicating well at the moment, so I'm moving on and I won't be responding to you in the future, but I wish you well, and leave it at that.
And even if you don't wish them well, you have to wish them well. No, seriously, karmically, wish them well. Let it go. Don't hang on to it.
Yes.
Hanging on to negativity and resentment, all that. We've talked about it before. It's like drinking poison. Don't do it.
No, correct. In the immortal words of Bernard Fanning.
That's it. I just want to wish them well. Speaking of ghosting and workplace ghosting, it's really common in the corporate world, isn't it, Mitch?
Yes, Janet, it sure is. And it comes from multiple directions. Colleagues, supervisors, your reports, suppliers and customers or clients. And much of the ghosting in the workplace is in the form of avoidance. You know, they're avoiding conflict or making a decision or doing something that they don't want to do or saying no. You know, people hate saying no, quite frankly. You know, it's really interesting. Or, you know, even having that difficult conversation, you know, it's sometimes it's hard to have that difficult conversation, so people avoid it.
Yeah, they do, like the plague.
And when this happens, their silence is conspicuous. I've got countless examples of when I've been working with a customer and put a proposal together and then asked them to make a decision on it. And then they just go missing. Yep. They are avoiding giving me the bad news. And yes, I know it's never nice telling a potential supplier that they haven't been selected, particularly if you genuinely like the person as well that you've been dealing with. But going AWOL or absent without leave and ghosting doesn't solve the problem.
And there are instances that I've come across, you know, where they avoid the call or emails because they don't have the authority to make the decision and they don't want to lose face. Whatever the reason, it's actually a professional courtesy to respond in a timely manner, regardless of it being good or bad news. And do you know what? All of us on the other end of the bad news may be disappointed, but we move along. It's just part and parcel of the game of business.
When I'm dealing with anyone selling to me, I have a philosophy that I respond to all contacts who've approached me regardless of their service or product and regardless of their method of contact, you know, email, socials, whatever it is.
Yeah, a good example of that one's the LinkedIn one past that
Yeah, so I often get approached in LinkedIn, you know, by people offering me their service or a product. And look, I really just take 20 seconds and it's really simple and it's really quick and I thank them for reaching out. And at present, I don't need what you're offering and I wish you all the best. And it's done. And it really did take less than 20 seconds. And why do I do this? Because I've been on the other side of the table and I know what it's like to just be completely ignored.
Yeah, and it's not nice. Ghosting's also so rife in the recruitment industry, isn't it? Over to you, because you're dealing with this, mate, every day.
Oh, it sure is. And it's one of the biggest complaints that candidates have of recruiters. You know, and I bet that most of you out there listening to this have experienced this. You know, you put your application in and you never hear from anybody. It's so common. It's just commonplace in the industry.
And it's really rude.
It is really rude and it's just disrespectful. And you've gone to a lot of effort to put your cover letter in and submit your resume and really just to be completely ignored. It's the height of rudeness. And you know, it even extends to recruiters avoiding giving the candidate the bad news that they were unsuccessful. You know, the avoiders eventually do it, but there is a fair amount of ghosting on the way, and their silence is deafening. Yes, it's not nice to make that call. It's a really hard call to sell someone that they weren't successful, but it's got to be made. And I learned from an old mentor of mine in business that it's always better to know than not know in business. And that applies to everything. So take that and make that your mantra.
At the end of the day, you can't change what other people do, but you control what you do. So I urge you all to lead by example and be the person who always responds in a timely manner, regardless of what you need to deliver, good or bad news. It's like the law of psychological reciprocity. If you do this, you'll attract back to you from the people that you deal with great communication. In closing this topic today, I'm going to share with you a really effective and easy exercise that has helped many of our clients and our kids at times. If you find yourself ghosted and your psyche feels this like it's been sliced, like we talked about earlier, this really simple exercise can help. If the silence has been deafening and you feel the need for closure, I really encourage you to write a letter out to the ghoster. If you've typed it, print it out, or if it's handwritten, tear out the page or pages. Then I want you to just sit quietly and picture the person, or in this case we'll call them the ghoster, in your mind. Then I want you to read it out loud to them. Take the paper outside then, scrunch it up or tear it up and burn it, obviously somewhere safe. As the smoke is rising, say the following: I release any hurt or angst over this communication and transmute all negativity into peace.
So this is a really easy way to relieve the stress associated with being ghosted, and you'll feel a great sense of relief moving forward. Until next time, may your communication be real and the ghosting be at a minimum.
And don't forget to take a leaf out of the ectoplasmic kind of ghosts and say boo by calling out ghosters. It may make them think twice about doing it again.
Join us again next week for our next episode of About.
Until then, love and blessings from us.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for watching this video, and we hope that you got a lot out of it. We would love it, be grateful and appreciative if you would take the time to like this video, comment if you feel inclined, and share with any friends that you think would benefit from this. We are constantly creating new great content, so also remember to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the awesome material that we have coming up. See you soon.